And now I'll begin with my presentation on research and fundraising activities. Let me see if it works. Yeah, it's working. Okay. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Špela Miroševič, and I founded the CTNNB1 Foundation together with my husband Samo, as soon as our boy Urban was diagnosed with CTNNB1 syndrome. So the story probably many parents here know too well. We all know how it is to bring home a beautiful baby boy for whom you think that it's healthy, and then out of a sudden you hear the words of developmental delay. You hear the words saying that your child's head is not growing, that he's not gaining weight, that he has weird muscle tone, he has weird movements, eating problems, and if you're lucky, you then receive the diagnosis. And of course, at the beginning, the diagnosis doesn't tell you much. You hear a few numbers, you hear a few letters, it doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, normally you go to the internet, you Google it, and what you find even more stresses you out, because you see this gene related to intellectual disability, you see this gene related to speech abnormalities, absence of speech, motor deficits, eye abnormalities related to blindness. You hear all of these really difficult words no parent should ever hear. And then you go back to the letters and back to the numbers and you check if those match, because you cannot understand that your beautiful baby has been given all these words and that this is going to be his future. And now, at least for me and my husband, we couldn't accept that. We were living in denial for a while. We thought that maybe Urban will beat the odds and he will be better, but only if we will work hard with him. So we did a lot of physiotherapy. We exercised with him on a green ball to exercise the coordination, the balance. We even learned how to massage his little feet with different textures every day, many times a day. And so he will be able to maybe in the future support himself. And really soon after, we learned that this supportive therapy does help, but it cannot dramatically improve his quality of life or his future. And so that's when we decided that we want to do everything we can to improve his future. And so we founded the CTNNB1 Foundation. And really early on, that was in 2020, I connected with Dr. Damjan Osritkar. He's the head of the neurology department, pediatric department in Slovenia, and also Professor Dr. Roman Jerala. He's from the National Institute of Chemistry. They're both here today. And we started to think how we can best tackle this disease. So we formed a multidisciplinary team of researchers. They're still present and very active in our community today. The majority of them are also present and flew from all different countries. I want to mention some of them, specifically Dr. Leszek Lisowski. He's our main researcher. Together with Andrea Perez-Iturralde, they are working on our gene therapy program. They flew here all the way from Australia, so I'm very happy. I also want to mention Dr. Nina Žakelj. He was doing interviews with around 125 patients in different languages, and all that in her spare time. I also want to mention Dr. David Gosar. He was also part of this project, a clinical psychologist. And I also want to mention Dr. Petra Sušjan, looking online, and Dr. Maja Miško, Mateja Maruna here with us. They're all tirelessly working on RNA-based approach. And Dr. Duško Lajnšček and Dr. Vida Forsnerić working on prime editing and have been also helping us throughout this project. I also want to mention Dr. Edwin Chan. He's with us online. He has been working with characterization of mutations gained from the genotype-phenotype study, and also Dr. Walter Tucci from Italy, who I consider to be one of the experts in the field. So those were the team that we gathered at the beginning. And we also figured that if we want to move really fast, because our children, their disease is in some way progressive, their spasticity is progressive, and the sooner they receive the treatment, the better it is. So we started raising money. Me and my husband, we went to the all main media in Slovenia and told our story of Urban and the Slovenian researchers. And we were very lucky. We received a very good support from Slovenian people and the Slovenian media. And really early on, we got a call from Društvo Palčica Pomagalčica, the Little Helper Association, who is really famous in our country for helping other children with rare diseases. And she responded immediately. And ever since then, Larisa Štoka and Katarina Podgajski, they're both here today. Ever since then, there has not passed one day that they have not been working or thinking how to best progress our project to raise funds. Their work has really been critical. And in the name of all community, I want to thank them all for all they do. Thank you. So the research activities gathered within our foundation were divided on basic studies and treatment-related studies. All the information you can also find in your brochure. So really early on, the Slovenian team figured that because this gene is so new, it was only discovered in 2012, we needed to do a genotype-phenotype correlation study to better understand the symptoms. So that study has started in 2021 and just finished recently. The results will be presented today. And we also started to develop cell and animal models. While prior to our work, there existed two different mouse models. One was unfortunately not appropriate for us because of gain of function, and the other one was not possible to receive. So we decided to make our own loss of function model, which we then further characterized it in our natural history study, which will be also presented during this conference. We also developed different cell models from patients. Those cell models were created in Children's Medical Research Institute at the Washington University St. Louis and also at Simon Searchlight Study. This is an overview of the basic studies. So we figured that before beginning exploring different treatment options, we needed to better understand the symptoms, the impact of mutations, and also we needed to develop and characterize our models on which those treatments will be tested. And now Ana Gonzalez will present tomorrow more detailedly our treatment strategies, but I will just mention some of them. So our research agreement with Children's Medical Research University at Sydney for the gene replacement therapy started in April 2021. And soon after, they started designing a number of different variants of CTNNB1 gene and tested them in silico. And in 2022, in the middle, they started in vitro testing those candidates in iPSC cells and also on brain organoids. We presented that results at the European Medical Agency and will further submit any new results we received from the in vivo studies that has already started at Charles River. The update will also be presented today, the efficacy and long-term safety study. And we have planned our in vivo studies, so toxicity study in the wild-type mice. I also want to mention the efforts being made by the National Institute of Chemistry. Really early on, they started exploring different RNA and DNA-based approaches. For example, they tested for exon skipping all different exons, and now they are also working on some others. They received a grant for novel therapies worth 300,000 euros to advance CTNNB1 syndrome. And just anytime soon now, they should start in vitro studies for the RNA-based therapies. And now this is an overview of treatment strategies. You also can find this in our brochure, which we gave as a gift. And now our fundraising efforts, something we are extremely proud of. Our fundraising campaigns start in April 2021, and by the end of the year, we raised first $500,000. By the middle of 2020, we raised by 1 million in funding, and then by the end of the year, we achieved 1.5 million milestone. And by today, we have, together with Društvo Palčica Pomagalčica from Slovenia, raised 1.7 million euros. I think this is a number, if 2 years ago, I couldn't even dreamed of. So the 12% was initially donated by our family, and then around 40% was raised by mobile donations, which are really popular in Slovenia, and another 40% by mobile donations. We also raised around 9% with GoFundMe. Here I want to mention the fundraiser made by Megan Heap recently. She raised around $100,000 just within a few days by her child's first birthday. And the majority of money went for the efficacy and long-term safety study, and also for the gene replacement therapy. We also spent some money for the development of cell and mouse model and for the initial characterization of the model. There were also some small expenses, other expenses, which we spent for translations, for transportations, and for other accounting expenses, and we really tried to put them down. Some of them were even covered by our family. I now want to move to some of the events that have been done in Slovenia. We've been really, really active. If you've been following me on Facebook, I sometimes also publish something in the group, but I'm sure you're not aware all of them. One of the first one was Walking for Urban. This was an event that happened in Sevnica. People all over from Slovenia were counting steps, and one company calculated based on one step, made a donation, and altogether we raised 60,000 euros just with this event in one day. It was really, really big success. And then we had in Slovenian Olympics. They were taking pictures with Urban 5, which means I want to make a €5 mobile donation for Urban. We had many, many of them. And then Slovenian basketball players gave signed basketball, and they also make a photo with this sign, Urban 5. Here, I don't know if you know Luka Doncic. He's pretty famous in Slovenia, our boy. And also really interesting fundraiser, a family from Belgium, they came in Slovenia and they made acrobatic tricks to fundraise for the CTNNB1 syndrome. It was also a very successful event over the period of 3 days. Yeah. We had a successful hockey game for a good cause. All of the tickets were devoted for Urban. We had Urban's lottery tickets. Those lottery tickets were selling all over the gas stations, and we personally, our family, and Palčica Pomagalčica brought personally to every gas station in Slovenia. So it was really something else. I mentioned Lucy's one Drazer, the fundraising she made for her baby, and many TV exposures and events we had in the past 3 years. It was really, really hard work. This is Urban 5 from young football players. It's really beautiful. And I just also want to briefly mention the association CTNNB1 Spain. Their association was founded in May 2021. They have 27 patients in Spain, but in the association currently there are around 20. They had also many small events, especially at the local level. For example, swimming crossing Cadiz El Puerto de Santa Maria, Solidarity Pass theater play, It Never Rains to Everyone's Taste, and La Mitia charity race in Granollers. Here are some photos of their events. Yeah, and also in Europe, we've been very active. Recently, the French people made a association in France. We also have association in Italy, and some German people starting to think how they can also make their German association to benefit our programs. And I would just briefly like to invite them to the stage to say hello in their own language.
Bonjour à tous.
Bonjour.
I can speak briefly in English. There is, of course, a lot of emotion speaking in front of you today. We are glad, but it's particular. I would never thought I would be here today speaking in front of 100 people, not in my own language. Thank you to the CTNNB1 Foundation. Thank you to the Spanish Association to put this, and we are very proud to be with you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buongiorno a tutti. Innanzitutto vorrei ringraziare i padroni di casa per la splendida accoglienza e ringraziare Špela per lo splendido lavoro che sta svolgendo. Come mamma, come genitore, mi viene da fare qui una sola osservazione, che è la seguente. Quando ci si imbatte in una malattia rara, una malattia terribile come quella che è capitata a noi, quasi tutti quelli che ti stanno accanto ti dicono che tu devi accettare come se fosse poi qualcosa che ricade sulla tua persona. Il fatto che oggi siamo qui è la dimostrazione che così non è. Queste cose non si possono accettare e l'impegno di tanti genitori sta dimostrando che qualcosa può accadere. Quindi l'augurio che mi viene da rivolgere a Špela, ai genitori spagnoli e a tutti noi genitori che siamo qui è un augurio latino, ad maiora sempre, puntiamo sempre verso risultati migliori. Grazie a tutti e buon lavoro.
And recently, our foundation achieved also a very important milestone. I consider this to be a milestone. Ana Gonzalez Hernandez joined our team. She's also a CTNNB1 mother. She's a scientist and has been working with me on numerous meetings at night at different times. And I couldn't be happier to have her as my team. And I think we made a really good team together. Yeah, I see her there. I want to end this presentation with looking to the future. In the future, we aim to raise 300,000 more until the summer. It's a very ambitious goal, but with Palčica Pomagalčica, I don't doubt that we will achieve it. And we aim to complete our first batch of the preclinical programs by the summer, or during the summer. And we aim to submit those new documents to the EMA. And during that time also assess a 6-month toxicity with medium and high dose in wild-type mice, which should start anytime soon now. And continue with in vitro assessment of gene replacement therapy also in other patient cells. We also want to further support the work on RNA and DNA therapies and support their work on testing chosen ASO on a candidate in mice. And hopefully we will organize our next conference, maybe in Slovenia. So I want to finish with thanking all the sponsors. We received a really big grant for us to be able to organize such an event. And this was really important for me because I want all the donations that is received from people to go directly to research. I also want to thank additional some sponsors that were either made a donation or supported us in some other way. And of course to all the participants and the parents who came here to support our cause. Thank you.